think it's really interesting. Like, yeah, basically, like, if more and very many smart people are in government, but I think, the private sector and other sectors are very sexy. So a lot of very brilliant people just kind of choose to not be involved. But like, as we think about some of these like major issues in our globe, like some of these major problems that would really be supported by public approaches, I think about the folks who like want to complain about the folks who are in office. And I'm like, have you ever ran for office? How involved are you in your local community? Because it's us. It's not the politician over there. That's our government. It's our responsibility. And I think a lot of people are kind of like choosing to not be as active as they genuinely could be and make a real change in their local community that would spread outwards, because it is easier to just point the finger and say, well, you over there, who's the senator or the politician or whatever else, should be the one doing this stuff. And it's like, this is all of our world, But I hear what you're saying. I always just get a little like, the government, because that was my old life. Well, it's still my current life, but like, y'all ever ran for local government? Because it is hard. It is
no,
hard.
I totally get where you're coming from. And like, even on a larger scale, like I feel like people probably aren't as involved as they could be, in general, people.
But I think
not you or any
particular
person listening. I was talking to this guy yesterday and he started, doing that kind of Trump bashing, like, oh, this horrible person. And he said, we could do without him. And I said, but could we really? Because isn't he us? Like, aren't we all connected? Like, I don't know.
This Jack Kornfield podcast, and he was talking about some of the initiatives that the Trump administration had done around the opioid crisis, and how like they gathered like I think it was, I don't remember it was the CNN commentator. I want to say his name's Van Jones. I think it's him. It was like Van Jones worked together with Jared Kushner, and like Van Jones reached out to like the like Black communities that were impacted by the crack epidemic.
Yes.
Yeah, that happened because they experienced what it's like to like see your families and relatives go through this thing and how to still like fight through as a community and be resilient. So they actually brought those people together with the folks in like Appalachian, those other places that are dealing with this opioid crisis. And they brought them together in the meeting. So of course you've got these like Black communities mixing with these like very like Trump communities, right? And the way they started the meeting was they had everyone bring a photo of somebody that they had lost to drugs. And they went around, every person told the story of the person that they had lost. And so by the end of that introduction, everybody understood they were genuinely all in this together. And I never heard of that initiative. I had no idea that stuff was happening. And it was only from this random podcast that I even knew that happened. And that's when I realized, like, you truly see what you want to see. If you have a narrative that, like, this person is a bad person and all his policies are bad and it is a genuinely is hurting our country, you will find and you will see that story. If there's any part of you that's open to seeing any other part, you'll start to see these other parts and you'll see the nuance of that. And it's interesting how it feels, even talking about this. I feel the people who are like, oh, so you like Trump now? And it being and realizing that, like, I remember being that person who was just quick to dismiss. And it really is a function of healing. The more you heal the parts of you that you, for yourself, you wish you could dismiss certain parts of you, the more you bring those parts in, the more you can do the same thing for other people and then for the world. And so when people are very reactive in that way, I know that means that there's parts of themselves that they are similarly like shutting off and pushing to the side. And those parts desperately want to be loved because that's all we ever want. And so I just try to pour love on them because I'm like, oh, okay, you're still at a point in your journey where you're not loving all of yourself yet. And I still have a ways to go. So I just try to give them that compassion because I'm like, I know what it's like. And it's hard, it hurts to not love all of yourself, So
yes. And the thing is, it was a difficult 4 years to witness. So I understand people's anger, but I really, in most cases, if I feel like somebody's, functional enough to have a conversation about it, I do push back on that whole notion that there are people we can do without. because I really think we are all one,
Yeah.
and that there are no mistakes here. Like,
Mhm. And we know, and that's what's wild is we know what happens when certain people decide that there are other people that we can do without. We know what that
mhm,
looks like and how
mhm.
that leads to a lot of harm. And so
Yes.
I think it's so important to remember when we can find ourselves echoing ideologies that literally just lead to killing people. So it's like, let's just rein it in
Yeah.
because we are all people and God don't make no mistakes, as you said, and we all have our role. And yeah, so I fully agree.
Yeah, yeah. So it's fun. It's fun questioning all the time.
It is
And
fun.
I
It is
think a
fun.
lot of people are kind of stuck in reacting most of the time rather than responding,
Yeah,
because I think that the system we have set up for ourselves right now is less than nurturing. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, it's true.
I think that this whole great resignation thing that we're
Mhm,
witnessing is
mhm.
a beautiful thing, a beautiful step in the right direction,
Yeah,
because for the longest time, we've been living in the system that doesn't allow us enough space to breathe,
yeah,
you know? So, of
yeah.
course, we're stuck in being reactive, you know?
It's
Right?
true,
If you
it's
stopped
true.
somebody and pointed out that they were being reactive, they might bite your head off because they
Yeah,
don't know what
so
you're
right?
talking about.
Are you attacking me? Did I come here to be attacked? I thought you were my friend. Yeah, no one's doing that.
You know? It's
Mhm,
just hard out there. Hard out there. And
truly, and
I
it's mhm,
also have, the great privilege of waking up when I wake up,
yeah.
right?
Amen. And that being a privilege, like, that's wild, but it is a privilege to wake up when you want to.
Yeah.
That's what's happened in our culture,
Yes.
which is a basic human function,
Sleep.
is dictated by how much money are you earning to get by on a very just to feed yourself and have a roof over
Yeah.
your head. These basic things are now someone else's,
I just thought of a new human rights movement. It's called "Sleep is a Human Right."
Amen.
Oh,
Amen.
have you heard of this person doing the nap ministry?
Oh, yes.
Oh
Oh,
my
yes.
goodness. Oh my, that's
100%.
just so real. Like, for years,
100%.
Chimdi, till I was 48, I slept an average of 2 hours a night because I was so busy, 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 busy all the time.
When were you going to bed and when were you waking up?
I went to sleep after I was done doing what needed to be done. Then I'd wake up when people needed me. And, like, I was raising kids. I raised my three plus another 13. And while I was doing that, I went to college, I went to grad school, I worked at all these places, did my artistic stuff. Anyway, I was busy. So I did not sleep. And I don't think, even though my example is a little extreme, I don't think that's that unusual.
Yeah.
I think most people in this country are just busy, 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 sleep deprived all the time.
Oof. Oof.
So when you have enough sleep, it's easy to respond, to be compassionate, to love everyone. Right?
It's so true.
I'm just getting this. We're having this conversation, like how that needs to get bumped up in my mind and
It's
important. Like
so
sleep,
true.
number one, human right. Like above housing is sleep.
Right. Wow.
But
I
those are my
mean,
things, right? Sleep, housing, food, healthcare, education. I feel like all these things should
yeah,
be human
these
rights.
things. And
Well,
it's
all these things are human rights. We
we're
forgot,
pretending. Yeah,
right?
we're pretending. That's so interesting. Yeah, I saw this thing about how like it was like a tweet a while ago about how like oh like ENFJ versus INTJ versus this or that or Enneagram, and it was like person was or like introvert versus extrovert. They were just saying like we literally just all have the same personality, and it's just different versions of the same personality. And I feel like sometimes when I am just being myself, people are like, "You're so great," and I'm like, I literally am just being myself, and I'm realizing it's like there's a certain set of resources that have either been like given to me or pain and struggles that have been kept from me and that allows this me to bloom. And it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
literally every single person was able to get some rest and had a sister they could just like sleep on their couch for
Yes,
free and
yes.
like all these like of course I'm able to be this hey this bright shining star of love and light. And it's like if everyone had really yeah, that's literally all it is that if they could all just get up when we wanted to and rest and spend 2 hours in the morning staring at clouds and being like, look at that one. Look at the majesty of the earth. Of course, they'd be able to show up in these beautiful, compassionate ways.